Good morning, everyone, and belated Happy New Year. We're ready to go live? Yes, thank you. Welcome to RBKC's Licensing Subcommittee, and thank you for attending. The hearing is being live streamed. I'm Counselor Janet Evans, and I will be chairing this meeting. The committee for this hearing comprises Counselor Marie-Therese Rossi and Counselor Abdullahi Noor and me. We are joined by Paul Phelan from the Council's licensing team, our legal officer, Lindsay Lemasurier. Also with us are committee officers Holly Weaver and Danielle Healy. Before we start the hearing for this case, just a few ground rules, please. Keep your microphones on mute until you are invited to speak, as only 2 microphones can be in use at any one time. And please make sure your mobile phones are on silent. The case before us today is to vary a license for Beluga, 147 to 149 Notting Hill Gate, W11 3LF. Now, for declarations of interest, I confirm that I have no declaration of interest to make regarding this item. Do the other members have any declarations to make? Councillor Rossi?
No declaration to make.
Councillor Noor?
No declaration to make, thank you.
Yep. Thank you, colleagues. Now, for clarity, I will briefly outline the procedure of this meeting, which has already been circulated with the papers. First, the licensing officer, Mr. Phelan, will give a brief outline of the application. Please, could you confirm your attendance?
Good morning, Chair. I'm here.
Thank you. Then I will ask the applicant, Mr. Aman Rahimi, to present his submission. He will have up to a maximum of 10 minutes to do so. Please, could you confirm your attendance?
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Then questions may be asked by members of the committee, the legal officer, and the objectors of the applicant. Next, the objectors, Councillor Joanna Gardner, Mr. Emra Tatar, Ms. Katrina Allen, and Ms. Isidore, Mr., yes, that's what I thought, Magaronis, will present their objections. They will have up to a maximum of 10 minutes each to do so. Please, could you all confirm your attendance? Thank you. Then questions may be asked by members of the committee, the legal officer, and the applicant of the objectors. After this, we will ask our legal officer, Ms. Lemasurier, to lead on the draft conditions session. The list of potential conditions has been circulated to all of the parties prior to the hearing. Please, could you confirm your attendance?
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Then finally, we will turn to the governance team to see if any issues have been raised that we need to consider. There will be no summing up, and the meeting will end. I would like to remind everyone that the committee has read the papers which comprise the main pack. 1 additional submission from the applicant and 1 additional submission from an objector that have been circulated to the parties, so there is no need to repeat their content. But please do draw our attention to certain points and papers. Mr. Phelan, can you please outline the case for us and advise if there has been any additional documentation received?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Today we are considering an application from Mr. Aman Tafreshi for the variation of a premises license at Beluga, which is located at 147 to 149 Notting Hill Gate, London, W11 3LF. The premises currently hold a license permitting the sale of alcohol both on and off the premises, the provision of late night refreshment indoors, unrestricted hours for recorded music, and regulated entertainment for private use. The application seeks to vary the license by extending the hours for the sale of alcohol and late night refreshment. The proposed changes are as follows. Sales of alcohols both on and off the premises from midday until midnight, Monday to Wednesday. Currently, this is permitted from 10 a.m. From midday until 01:30, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. This is also currently permitted from 10 a.m. till midnight, Monday to Friday. Late night refreshment indoors from 11 p.m. till 01:30, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Currently, late night refreshment is permitted to 00:30 on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The opening hours sought as part of this variation are as follows. Monday to Wednesday, midday until 30 minutes past midnight. Thursday to Saturday, midday until 2 a.m. and Sunday, midday until midnight. Chair, this application has attracted 9 representations in opposition, including submissions from the Camden Hill Residents Association, Hillgate Village Residents Association, and Councillor Joanna Gardner. The concerns raised focus primarily on public nuisance, potential for antisocial behaviour, and the negative impact of extending the hours on a residential area. These representations are summarised on page 11 of the report, with full copies provided in Appendix C. To address these concerns, the applicant has agreed to a series of conditions proposed by both police and noise and nuisance, which are detailed in the report today. Chair, there have been no noise complaints in the past 24 months and no temporary event notices have been submitted for the premises over the last year. The Planning Department have also confirmed that there are no planning restrictions or conditions relating to this application. Finally, Chair, I can confirm that the following additional documents were circulated in the lead up to today's hearing. A video dated Saturday the 14th of December 2024 from an objector, additional evidence submitted by the applicant dated the 20th of January of this year, a document which clarifies the hours sought as part of today's variation. For clarity, Chair, those are the hours I referred to earlier in my opening statement. That effectively concludes a summary of this application. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phelan. Now for the applicant's case. Mr. Rahimi, please can you advise if there have been any further amendments to your application?
Thank you, Chair. There has been a lot of discussions with various parties that are interested, including the community, as well as representatives of the authority, including the noise department, noise control department, and the police. We have compromised and we have reduced our request from 7 days down to only 3 days. And we have reduced our requested times from 2 a.m. down to 1:30 a.m. to be the last serving of any food or alcohol. That is only an extension of 60 minutes extra. Our objectives of licensing has all been reinstated, reiterated in our application, and we hope to add value to the community and do our utmost best to protect and serve. Thank you.
Okay. Can you present your submission, please? Or was that your submission?
That was it.
That was your submission.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Okay. Any questions first from the committee? Councillor Rossi?
Okay, so I probably should know this, but what is, I've got 2 questions. What is the capacity in your restaurant? How many people do you have?
65, we could squeeze up to 70.
65 to 70. Okay, and I understand you've cut the hours down on 4 days a week, but where you have asked for the later hours, what kind of dispersal policy do you have? So how can you ensure that people leaving will leave in an ordinary, fashion and not make a noise and,
Sure.
and shout and etc.?
Just a minor correction, if you don't mind me. It's not 4 days. We're down to 3 nights.
3 nights where we have the extended hours.
Sure, but we've agreed to 3 nights, not 4. So
Okay,
Thursday, Friday,
sorry.
Saturday. And
that's what I meant.
in terms of the second point you kindly asked, there are signages that are posted outside. Our team will always be there to monitor the noise level if anybody's behaving irrationally or without respect to our community, with any type of noise, we will be there to handle them, either bring them back inside, sit them down, give them some water, call up a cab, a taxi to make sure they get home safe without causing noise for the neighborhood.
And when you actually have someone on the door, standing by the door to sort of, I don't mean all night, but later on to make sure that people leave in an orderly fashion?
Those 3 nights we have allocated resources. The person will not be 100% of the time outside. He will be a member of the restaurant's team,
Okay.
but someone will be there to manhandle any issues.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Noor?
Thank you, Chair. Will you have a delivery service in your business?
It would only be food, no alcohol. 0 alcohol after the previous license that was only 12 midnight.
And that will end at 23 hours or midnight?
Midnight.
Sorry, can I just jump in here? Paul, you do not have late night refreshment outdoors, which means that you can only deliver hot food until 11 p.m. Is that correct, Paul?
Currently, the hours for late night refreshment indoors end at 30 minutes past midnight, Monday to Saturday, and then they terminate at midnight on Sunday.
So in terms of, we're talking about delivery takeaways, did you just say that delivery takeaways will be until midnight? And I'm just seeking clarification that because you haven't got late night refreshment outdoors,
My apologies.
it has to stop at 11. Can you confirm that, Paul? And can you confirm you've
I can
understood
confirm that will be the case, 11 p.m. Sorry.
Councillor Noor?
Thank you, Chair. I mean, you are asking 3 nights, 1:30, and most of the business in your area, they may not be next door, but surround the area, the late hours is about 12 midnight. So having up to 1:30 open, is there business demand?
Yes, Councillor, there is demand. Another question, if you don't mind me. When you mentioned submissions, did you mean my 10 minutes of... I beg your pardon, I didn't realize that. Do I still have a chance to read that for you?
Yes, you do.
Is this an appropriate time now?
Yes.
Well, I'd like to thank you again and wish you all Happy New Year. Good morning to everyone. Thank you for the opportunity for me to speak today. As you know my name, I'm Arman. I'm one of the owners of Beluga. I'm here to respectfully request an extension to our trading hours, and I believe we will provide a tangible benefit to both community and our business without compromising the value of this borough or our licensing objectives. Beluga has been proudly serving the community for over 6 years now, offering high quality food that many of our patrons have said it is difficult to find nearby. In fact, there is no comparable establishment in the area offering the same standards of fresh, wholesome meals during the late hours of night. Our business has become a reliable choice for residents, commuters, and shift workers who often find themselves without a suitable option for good food at late night. While we are licensed to sell alcohol, it is really a very small part of our operation. Our focus has always been on providing excellent food and service and a welcoming environment. We are not known really as a bar or a pub, but a place where people come to enjoy a meal. We have worked closely with relevant authorities to ensure our application is reasonable and aligns with the community's needs. To address any concerns we have, 1, reduced the request down to only 3 nights a week. 2, provide additional hours of 90 minutes only, and those are 3 nights as I mentioned earlier, which will allow us to meet the growing demand for our customers while keeping late night disruption to a minimum. We have a trained management team on site who has been thoroughly objectified of selling alcohol and meeting its licensing objectives, ensuring full compliance with regulations and safeguarding the community from any potential negative impact. I understand the committee's duty to consider potential concerns around noise, public nuisance and safety. And let me assure you that noise levels will be addressed in our daily operation. We have policies in place to ensure minimal noise and clear guidance for our customers when they leave premises, as I kindly mentioned to the councillor minutes ago. Our staff is trained to manage customers' behaviour and to avoid disturbance. Security, we've invested in CCTVs and maintain a strong on-site presence to ensure the safety of patrons and neighbours. Community relationships, we are committed to open communication with local residents, and we have strongly demonstrated this by engaging constructively with authorities throughout this process. Why this request matters? This modest extension of our training hours will allow us to, one, serve the community by staying open a little bit later to better cater to residents and visitors who currently have no other option for quality food in the area, and to support the local community economy by extending our hours that would allow us to grow responsibly and create more jobs and contribute further to local revenue without compromising the borough's standards. We will be operating fairly. Other establishments in similar areas have been granted longer hours, and this approval would ensure we can compete on a level playing field while maintaining the high standards that is expected from RBKC. And in conclusion, we are requesting a small considered extension to our trading hours, which have been tailored to balance the needs of our business, the community, and the borough's objectives. We've compromised with authorities, demonstrated our commitment to responsible practice, and shown that this extension is both reasonable and necessary. I thank you again for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer further questions.
Councillor Noor, did you have any further questions?
I think the applicant did answer my question. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, he's been thorough. Just to clarify, what time did you want to open?
We want to open at midday 12.
Okay. So, does the license reflect that, the application?
I think we just wanted clarification. So at the
Yes.
moment, on Monday to Friday, you've got you can start selling alcohol at 10 a.m, Saturdays 11 and Sundays 12. So are you happy for Monday to Sunday to start at 12, i.e. so you're cutting back? Are you happy for it to be changed to 12?
Historically, demand for our food has been from midday lunch.
Okay.
So we've never actually been open prior to 12. Our cleaning staff would come in around 11:30 to do a minor setup of the tables. The very first customer has always been welcomed around midday.
Okay, so you're happy to have
Yep.
those earlier hours removed.
Yeah, sure.
And for it to go from 12.
Happy
okay,
to.
Thank you.
Thank you. And tell us about your community engagement. Have you spoken to anyone in the area? Have they come in to talk to you?
Absolutely, there are a number of people that I can send you names that we have had very positive feedbacks from, who have demanded if we could extend our hours during the past 5 years. The same goes with our other restaurants in Hammersmith, which we have had since 1999. I was only a teenager when my father started that one. It's called Mahdi Restaurant in King Street. But there we spend less time, so would rather stay in RBKC to do this extension. The community has welcomed us. There has been a number of objections, and as I'm sure all the councillors have read through the emailing, and we have responded to them appropriately.
Yes. Excellent. No, thank you. Sorry. Staff training and meetings. When do you have your meetings with the staff?
Monday mornings.
Sorry, Monday
Monday
mornings.
mornings.
Okay. And do you are you anticipating that your management plan for dispersal, will you have, or do you have a need for a SIA guard, or can you handle it with the staff?
The staff are male in their mid-20s and 30s. They are quite well spoken, quite capable of handling any problems. Very intelligent team that we've fortunately gathered around us. We don't feel the need to recruit other security staff, if that's what the lady is asking about.
Uh, Now, any questions from our legal officer?
Not at this stage. I've clarified the opening hours. I think when it comes to the draft conditions session, then we can go through that. Well, I think just one question actually. So you've asked for extended hours for on sales and off sales. So in relation to the off sales, why do you want extended hours for off sales? Because you can't sell alcohol as a takeaway after 11 p.m. because you haven't got late night refreshment outdoors. So the only thing I can think of you would need off sales for, beyond what you've already got, is for someone physically coming in and buying alcohol or taking it away with them.
Could you clarify your question for me?
Sorry,
Could you
I'm
expand on
not
it?
clear why you want off sales extended. I can understand why you want on sales extended for people coming in, eating in the restaurant, drinking more wine. But why do you want extended hours for off sales?
By off sale, do you mean takeaways?
Well, just physically taking away alcohol from the restaurant because you haven't got late night refreshment outdoors as a licensable activity. You can't have takeaway deliveries after 11 p.m. at night anyway without applying for that. So the only off sale that you will be able to do after 11 p.m. Is someone physically coming in and treating you like an off license and taking wine away with them or beer. So I'm not clear why you want off sales. Do you really want off sales extended?
So there is request for our food, and some people do order wine as well. If the council sees it appropriate that we would allow people to purchase alcohol alongside of our food, then we would like to earn money from that as well.
You can buying alcohol with your food and eating in the restaurant isn't on sale.
Yes.
But for off sales, it's physically taking the alcohol away from the restaurant. And that's what I want clarity on.
Yeah, for example, someone coming in off the street, they're on a date, they want a bottle of champagne. They walk in, they buy a bottle from you, and they leave. Is that what you're asking for?
No, that's not part of our application.
Sorry?
That has never been part of our extended request.
Okay, well, that's what our solicitor is asking you because
Yes,
of the
yes.
way it was asked.
So it might be something that you may think about it when it comes to the conditions session, but you
Of
may
course.
not need extended off sales. So we can't take away what you've got. So you've currently got off sales until midnight, Monday to Friday, Saturday, and 11:30 on Sunday. So that's what you've got now. But you're asking for an extension on the Thursday to Saturday from midnight to 1:30. So do you really want off
No.
sales midnight to 1:30?
No, I do
So
not
that
want.
can be omitted from the
Correct, it can be.
application.
I apologize if it hasn't been noticed and amended.
Okay,
prior
fine.
to
So
this moment.
you're happy for that
Absolutely,
element to be removed?
absolutely, yes.
Thank you. I thought that made sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from our objectors? Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. I just had a question about smoking policy for customers. Is there any?
Could you say that again, madam?
Smoking policy outside for customers? Do you have a policy? And if so, what it is?
We do not encourage it. We do have a spot where people would come to naturally. There's on the side of Camden Hill Road, and there's another spot in front of the restaurant. We cannot, unfortunately, stop people from going out and going further out in the area to smoke. If anything, it would be more reasonable to keep them within our close vicinity under a control. There's a little pole with a rope on it that we can place outside and make sure they only smoke there rather than going in outer areas and disturbing the neighborhood.
And can I ask, the police recommended a condition for staff and delivery drivers. Would you have a problem extending that to customers?
Could you amplify on that?
So I think it was condition... sorry, would you like that another
Councillor
time?
Gardner, we'll save that for the conditions session. And I wanted to say about the smoking, you will be putting that in your management dispersal policy,
Correct,
please. Okay. Anything else? You can crack on now. We'll have the objector's case. Are we starting with Councillor Gardner? Mr. Tatar? Yes.
Could you play the video, please?
Yep, just 2 seconds and I'll bring it up for you.
Mr. Rahimi, can you turn your mic off, please? Thank you. Okay?
For clarity, this was the video that was sent in by the objector. It has been circulated to all the parties, but he's asked for us to play it now. If the sound isn't working, I'll try and replay it. Thank you.
Okay, it wasn't quite it wasn't quite loud enough. However, could you play it a little louder? No. I mean, if you heard it when it was distributed,
Can you speak into the mic,
Oh.
please?
Have you watched the video yourselves and with the loudness up? Because this is way too silent. In reality, it is louder.
Have you watched it?
Yes, I've watched it. Please confirm, yeah.
Okay. So this is how noisy it can get. Therefore, please don't add Thursdays and extend it by another half an hour, 3 nights a week. Our building is on Notting Hill Gate with living and bedrooms facing the street. In the video, 50 meters across the road to the right is Beluga. Patrons using public transport will go left to bus stops under us and tube station and more bus stops further left. Taxis will add to road traffic, traffic noise passing by residential buildings. Most people don't pay attention beyond shop level, therefore don't think of residents with open windows above. At the moment, I can get a good night's sleep from 1:45 a.m. on Friday, Saturday until Waitrose deliveries start from 6 a.m. onwards. Please do not reduce it further to 2:15 a.m. 15 minutes or so is needed after venues close for street noise to drop and for your body to relax. Only then you realize the extent of the stress the disturbance puts on you and can fall properly asleep. A license stays with the location. How many people will go for a meal past midnight? Most revenue will come from alcohol. Each unit of alcohol consumed results in exponentially loud patrons, talking and laughing loudly, shrieking, yelling, singing, chanting, saying goodbyes, all for longer, including lingering, extended by warm weather. That is a lot more frequent than 20 years ago when Licensing Act was written. This is not a small restaurant. The impact will be large. A noise officer commented, unprompted, how much noise comes through into my flat. Our building is a 60-year-old concrete block with poor noise insulation. Notting Hill Gate is actually lucky, where past the tube station, nighttime economy could be centered, sparing residents. We fought hard for no Thursdays on Archer Street, where there are conditions on smokers outside. Please don't go beyond 1 a.m. license, 1:30 a.m. closing hours, on Friday, Saturday only. Otherwise, one after another, venues will continuously ask for slightly longer hours, and after a while, no one will be able to tell who is responsible for which noise while we are drowning in it. With sleeping hours pushed back to 2:15, 2:30, 2:45, and so on, cutting our window of sleep. Please don't eat any further into our sleep on the street, where noise starts from 6 a.m. and drops after venues close. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tatar. Councillor Gardner, are you speaking next? Oh, Ms. Allen, yep.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, I'd like to speak both in a personal capacity as a local resident and as a committee member of the Hillgate Village Residents Association in objecting to the proposed extended licensing hours of Beluga Restaurant. Licensed premises along Notting Hill Gate and Coombe on Hillgate Street have earlier closing times, with a few late nights on Friday and Saturday for the likes of Archer Street. The impact of staggered closing times late at night between the various local premises creates even more of a disturbance for nearby residents, and Beluga is seeking even later times to 1:30 a.m., 2 a.m. once drinking up time is included, on 3 nights a week. So asking for such late hours, especially midweek on a Thursday, would have a serious effect on local residents, especially those above the restaurant, those along Notting Hill Gate, and for those all the way up Camden Hill Road. There'd be problems with noise from taxis, slamming of car doors, loud voices, fond, drunken farewells, well after the proposed closing time of 2 a.m. This noise all impacts residents nearby who are trying to sleep, and the background noise really drops off at night, so the noise is amplified even more. And I'd ask for a condition that states deliveries take place between the hours of 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. Neighbours of our Coombe restaurant in Hillgate Street have been subjected to no less than 32 instances of deliveries being made before the permitted time of 7 a.m. over the last couple of years since they opened, which creates a serious noise disruption when most of us are still asleep. Those breaches have all been reported to licensing, but it still carries on. It would be frustrating for Beluga neighbours were that to happen, hence asking for deliveries after 8 a.m. Finally, the pavement outside Beluga is really filthy. We'd like to ask for the restaurant to scrub down the area on a daily basis, but without jet washing, which would create unacceptable noise. All the above would have serious impact on locals such as myself, so I hope you'll take these requests into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you. I appreciate that some of these points have already been made, but I'll cover them myself anyway. I'm speaking as a ward councillor for the other side of Notting Hill Gate. I also live nearby, so have first-hand experience of Notting Hill Gate both by day and by night. As you've already heard from others, Notting Hill Gate has residential flats at first floor level and above most of the shops, as well as a hotel opposite the site which closes its doors to the public at 11 p.m. The Beluga restaurant is on Camden Hill Road, which is predominantly residential. It's on that corner. And in fact, the site is at the quiet end of Notting Hill Gate, particularly at night when the background noise and traffic dies down. It means late night trade, whether outside smokers, patrons coming and going, staff cleaning up and leaving or taking away couriers, late into the night or early morning, have a very noticeable and negative effect on residents' ability to sleep. I'd like to talk about 4 areas, each of which aims to meet or at least limit a public nuisance, which is a key licensing objective. The first is outside smokers. I note that the police have asked for a condition regarding smokers, I think it's draft 20, which does not cover customers. We all know about the party that moves outside, and with it the noise levels rise and the nuisance to neighbours. I'd suggest that like Archer Street in my ward, there is a restriction on the number of people outside to smoke at any one time after 10 p.m. to 4, and that we include customers and staff, and that no one is allowed to take drinks outside. I note that in the draft conditions from yesterday, conditions 30 and 31, although I note that they mentioned midnight, which I think is too late, and I recommend only 5 smokers. Secondly, delivery riders. I have yet to hear a quiet delivery service, as moped riders always seem to be in a hurry. I'd ask that if the premises can cease to offer delivery at 11 p.m, that would deal with the noise issue, which I think has already been conceded. And then there's also the challenge of whether you want them to wait inside, as happens under the Munch licence in Pembridge Road. Thirdly, the off-licence hours. As a licence once granted stays with the premises, irrespective of its future use, we have to view this application in that context. And if you grant the longer hours till 1:30 a.m, it will have an off-licence to match, which will be a massive outlier in the area. the off licence for the public at the Ruby Hotel opposite closes at 11 p.m. and midnight for hotel guests. Archer Street is 11 p.m, albeit that they do have a longer on licence. The schedule to the pack shows that there is no off licence so late, and I have had an application in my ward where the shop wanted to offer courier delivery drinks into the early hours. I'm asking that for this reason the off-licence aspect of this application is restricted to midnight 7 days a week.
You realise we've already dealt with that.
I do, and as I said at the beginning, I was still going to mention them anyway. So none of us wants this premises to convert into a late-night off-licence destination, whether as a side business or in the future, with all the problems it calls. And lastly, and most importantly, it's the hours. We all know how hard it is to get back to sleep once you're woken up. If you grant the request for Thursday, Friday and Saturday until 11:30 a.m, with 30 minutes drinking uptime, that's 2 a.m. leaving. You'll be making this the latest in this quiet area of Notting Hill Gate. Archer Street, where you've seen the video, is diagonally opposite. They have a licence till on Friday and Saturday till 1 a.m, with patrons leaving at 1:30 a.m. By granting a licence here for more days and longer hours, you'll be exposing residents, like Amir here, to losing even more sleep over a longer time as customers leave one premises and then 30 minutes later they leave another premises. You get your pavement party farewells, you get the slamming of Uber and taxi doors, and usually those last out the door are usually the most inebriated and the loudest as a result. And then you get the staff who leave after that. So essentially, you're talking 2 o'clock clearing out time and then potentially 2:30 for when the last member of staff has left. As you heard, the Waitrose lorries start delivering on Notting Hill Gate on 6 a.m. So let's just get all the noise done by 1:30 across the street and at this site, rather than prolonging it longer into the early hours of the morning. To me and those residents that I represent, the key here is getting the right balance between residents and businesses. And that is Friday and Saturday till 1 a.m, no off licence beyond midnight, conditions on smokers and delivery drivers. Thank you.
Does any other objector wish to speak? No? Okay. We will now have questions from the committee. Councillor Rossi, please.
Firstly, question to our Councillor Gardner. If we had a condition whereby you were not allowed to take drinks outside the restaurant in an open container, would that not stop the problem from smoking? Because the problem is not the smoking, doesn't make any sound. It's only when people congregate outside and chat that any noise will be created.
I think it's certainly a great help. My challenge is if you get a lot of people outside smoking and they're slightly worse for wear when they go out, they will start making a lot of noise. So I think the numbers can be important. Yep.
Okay, so could we intercondition the number of people outside? Okay, thank you.
Councillor Noor? No questions. Okay. Councillor Gardner, or any of the objectors actually. Mr. Tater, how far are you from this restaurant?
So I can see the restaurant diagonally, so probably 20-30 meters.
30 meters.
So
and across the street.
Is that across the street, across Notting Hill Gate?
Yes, diagonal, across the street.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. And
Sorry, can I object?
Oh, sorry.
and you mentioned washing the floor. I think that's a good idea in front of the premises every night, and that should be done, absolutely. And have you ever made a complaint about this premises? Any of you? No. Okay, thank you. And would you be happy with meeting with the owner and having resident meetings with the owner on a regular basis?
I don't think the issue is the details of this nature. I think, certainly from my point of view as Vice Chair of Camden Hill Residents Association, is the knock-on effect and the arms race in terms of closing hours that this will drive in the whole of Notting Hill Gate. I think the council needs to think about what they want Notting Hill Gate to be. Do they want it to be an extension of Soho, or do they want it to be a sleepy suburb in West London?
Councillor.
Yeah, and
Councillor
the thing
Rossi.
is, we have to look at each application on its own merits. And we don't, in this council, in this borough at the moment, have a cumulative impact policy. So that is a separate issue, and that is something which we don't have, and I would like to bring in our legal representative on that now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rossi. Just to reiterate, as we don't have a cumulative impact policy like Westminster does, there is no cumulative effect of restaurants. So as Councillor Rossi has said, each application on their merits, and obviously it's all about promoting the licensing objectives at the end of the day.
I'm sure none of the residents' associations would be... Sorry, I'm sure they'd all be amenable to meeting with the applicant, yes.
Good. Yes. And Councillor Gardner, this isn't your ward, so tell us the reason you're here, please.
Essentially, several of the objections come from my ward. So when I was initially approached back in November, I passed it to a Camden councillor to look at. And then I then saw it come back in and actually thought, no, this is going to have an impact because the noise is all going to go past half of my residents down Notting Hill Gate when they head to the tube or the buses, and that's why I got involved. Ordinarily, I don't touch things outside my ward, but where they're on my ward boundary and they will have an impact, I did. So that is actually why Lloyd is here this morning, in order to also represent the Camden Hill side.
Thank you. Any more questions from the committee?
Just one quickly.
Yes, Councillor Noor.
I mean, looking at the map in the application pack, I mean, most of the other businesses, like Archie Street, are slightly away from this building. So my question is, I think already the chair have asked it. I mean, as a local residents association and local residents, will you consider having a regular meeting, maybe every 6 months, to update the business owner if the issue has arisen in terms of noise? Would you consider having that meeting? Sure.
But just like that's actually why that's the reason why I sent the video actually, because my objection to Archer Street, when they extended twice within a year their hours, because until 2022 we didn't have anyone closing past midnight. But of course, and also I included in my objection, that managing people outside does not belong to a license, because once the people leave, they leave. And that's exactly the thing, as in no one can do anything because people have left. So when people leave from Beluga and then walk down the street, for instance, especially, actually, I think I included in my written first objection, when the application came in, just weeks before, like week after week, I actually started all of a sudden hearing noises coming from that intersection where Beluga is. And people kept walking and they took their time because warm weather, I mean, the impact it has, you won't believe it. People just linger. They don't disperse anymore. They're just there in the street. And the impact this has is, again, after Archer Street, because I lived there, I have lived experience, I watched it, how people, for instance, who are normally quiet, once they realize, for instance, oh, right, it's okay to be, Roger Street patrons are being loud, then they look around, and then they realize, oh, right, it's okay to be loud here. And all of a sudden, 2-3 people completely bust up as yes, but also completely far further away, towards Beluga, for instance, not Beluga patrons, but just people in the street, they start getting loud. And that's my whole point, is in, after a while, who are you going to meet with for what? Because noise breeds noise. The moment people realize, oh, it's okay to be loud here, the control is lost. And it is really very, for instance, 2 people talking outside under our window is extremely disturbing. Again, I witnessed many times how, for instance, my neighbor across the block, across the road, was reacting to the same people that I was reacting as, and I kept going to the window just to see the same people again. Top floor, the guy kept doing the same thing. That's why. So I have nothing against the restaurant or your business. It's just because we live there, it does impact our lives.
Councillor Noor?
I mean, the reason I asked the question is, looking at this case, we have no previous complaint about the business on the record. And I'm just looking on the way forward. Will you consider having a regular meeting with the business? That's my question.
Well, again, for instance, until Archer Street, I didn't complain either. As in, for 10 years, I never for 10 years, I haven't complained for anything that was at Archer Street's place. Once they extended twice, I found myself complaining. And yes, thanks to noise officers' involvement and their guidance and training of Archer Street staff, and because, again, my flat's location, as in they're able to...
I'm sorry, we have to judge this application on its own. So far, your evidence, including the video, are about Archer Street.
I know, all my point is, for instance, because it's going away from my building, but Beluga is further to the right, people will walk past our building. And they will be out in the street, as in meeting with the venue owner. I'm not sure what it would resolve. Because once they leave the premise, they left.
So you do not want to meet with the owner?
No,
on a regular
no, I
basis?
can meet, but I don't quite see how it can help.
I think Councillor Gardner's already said that they would be amenable to meeting with residents, and we can obviously go further on this in the actual draft conditions session anyway, to be honest.
Okay. Any questions from our legal officer?
I don't have any further questions.
Goes after you.
You're right, yeah.
Any questions from the applicant?
No questions, but may I respond to what I've heard?
Yes.
Thank you very much, everyone. First of all, my heart goes out to the gentleman who lives above Archer Street. I'd like to reiterate something that I wrote in my email, and that is that we are fundamentally a very, very different business. They have a DJ on site. They do not have food. When alcohol is on sale, the kitchen is pretty much shut down, with only nibbles being served. People are on feet, dancing loud with live singers. People come outside. This is a nightclub that you are suffering from, and I'm sorry to see that. I would not wish that on my own family either. We sell Persian food, and alcohol is a very small part of our business, almost 10%. The reason we wanted to extend was because of the demand that has been requested from us for the past 6 years. If the gentleman cares to visit us and see the work we do, the type of clientele that come into this restaurant are more family-oriented, very quiet and tamed bunch of guests that we have the pleasure of serving. That's number one. In terms of the alcohol sale not being sold off license prior, after certain hours, we'd like to comply with that. Cleaning outside is definitely something that lady on the far left has mentioned, and that would be taken care of. And also, I think deliveries that was mentioned. We do not have any delivery whatsoever other than 11 a.m. till perhaps 4 p.m. There will be no deliveries prior to 11 a.m. and nothing after 4 p.m. That's just how we historically purchase our goods. We just don't have the manpower to take things downstairs in the kitchen. Thank you.
Could I just say, Councillor North said to me he'd be very happy if the ward councillors were involved in any meetings with and I do think the issue here is 65 or 70 people walking down the pavement at 2 a.m. That it's not that they're Archer Street. It's that because the public transport and the taxis all come along Notting Hill Gate, that's the issue that Emma is trying to focus on, which is actually if you are rolling out people at 2:15 from a premises, that's extra noise that's 45 minutes later than when he's finally got to sleep from Archer Street. It isn't saying this premises is as bad as Archer Street. No. It's just that new late night noise, that's all.
Thank you very much for that. And Mr. Rahimi, you'll be dealing with that in the dispersal policy, because that can be staggered. But thank you for raising the point. Okay, we'll now go on to our conditions. I'd like to ask our legal officer to deal with the draft conditions and any other queries she may have.
Thank you, Chair. Right, before we go on to the conditions, I just want to reiterate, so in terms of the hours, you're not applying for off sales now. It's just on sales and late night refreshment for the Thursday to Saturday. Yes. So on sales Thursday to Saturday, and so you're applying for an extension from midnight to 1:30 a.m. and the same for late night refreshment, and then with closing half an hour later at 2 a.m. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. We're not doing off sales. I'm aware that this is an old licence. So when I was looking at the licence, a lot of the initial conditions, I was talking with the licensing officer, aren't relevant. So this is before we go on to my extra conditions. So I'm aware that you're not represented today, but I was talking to the licensing officer yesterday, and because we're kind of tidying up the licence at the same time, I don't know if you've got the main pack in front of you. If you want to go to page, where has it gone? Page 20, where it says Annex 2. So that's conditions 7 to 10 in particular. A lot of them can be deleted, but I just wanted you to be happy that they are deleted. So condition number 7, the licensing officer said it's not needed other than to retain the New Year's Eve late night hours. So are you happy for me to delete existing condition 7, but obviously to still allow the late night hours, which is 7F on New Year's Eve, which is basically all night? We can't take away what they've already got. So are you happy for everything to be removed from condition 7 except 7F?
The Honourable Lady should know that my understanding of this hearing is the merit of whether we are allowed to be open or closed overall.
Yeah.
To those extensions. These minor details that you would like me to clarify, if you would kindly give me time to read through them, give them some
Yes, okay,
thoughts.
that's absolutely fine. It was just, obviously I'm aware you're not legally represented, and obviously you don't have to agree to this, but it was just really to tidy up the licence so it's more understandable to read, and it's not in the old style language. So
any recommendations you may have, I welcome them if you'd be kind to email me. And yes, I'll be very flexible with these items. Yes.
Okay, fine. I'll tell you what we'll do. So perhaps we'll go on to my conditions first of all, and we'll come to this bit at the end. So that's just more of a tidying up session rather than anything else. Right, so everybody's received the draft conditions that were circulated previously. Right, so bearing in mind they've got an existing licence, they have what they hold, we can't take away what they've already got, so we can't start imposing stuff that they already can do. Right, so conditions, number 12, conditions agreed with the police are, and if everybody's got any comments, please chip in. Number 12, I've kind of put in red the council's preferred wording. Are you happy with number 12, our CCTV wording and signage, Mr. Rahimi?
It is already in there, and yes, we're totally happy.
Number 13, are you happy with the wording, include the red bits are my additional wording or amendments? Are you happy with number 13.
Absolutely.
Could I ask, 13, I didn't understand the 12 months time limit. Does that mean that if, it struck me as if there's a last entry, does that mean you lose everything before and you only keep from 2024, and actually if anybody had training in 2023, you lose that record because it's no longer recorded?
Well, it's up to the premises. At the end of the day, if there's an issue, then the licensing enforcement are going to obviously be dealing with it, within the 12-month period. So this is just standard wording.
I did just wonder if 12 months was just too short, my view.
Okay, thank you. I'll make a note.
Just to point out, it is for the premises and the authorities. And if there is no complaint, this is evidence for the premises and the authorities to look at. If there hasn't been a complaint, you don't need to hold it longer. A complaint would usually come on the spot, you see.
Thank you.
Correct.
Correct. Number 14, are you happy with the Challenge 25 policy and notice?
I think it's a very good one, yes.
Thank you. Number 15, it's already been replicated below in the noise and nuisance one, so I've crossed that out. Number 16, having a telephone number, are you happy with that?
It's already implemented at the restaurant.
Number 17, daily incident log. This is what you've already agreed with the police, and I've just added some
Correct,
extra
yes,
wording in.
we're happy with that, yes.
Number 18 is dealt with in 22 below. Number 19, we've already established, so number 19 is obviously aimed at delivery drivers to the premises and delivery drivers from the premises. Can I just establish, do you have a takeaway service, like Deliveroo kind of service?
We currently do, and it ends around 10:30/11 p.m.
Okay, so you do have so obviously that's what that condition's obviously aimed at as well. So you've got Deliveroo. Okay. Excuse me. Are you happy with condition? Well, I haven't made any alterations. This is what the police has asked for. Are you happy with 19?
Yes, absolutely.
20. And I think the objectors wanted it to apply to customers too, although your dispersal and external management plan will also cover smoking. But are you happy?
Yes, I'm happy.
To include customers into condition 20 as well as delivery drivers and staff?
Of course we are, yes.
Thank you. 21, it's obviously been replicated below with the noise and nuisance condition. So turning towards the noise and nuisance conditions agreed. So number 22, when I was talking with a licensing officer, your existing condition 8, I know that licensing noise and nuisance have asked that after midnight all customers have to be seated at tables served by waiter waitress service, and any alcohol's got to be ancillary to food. But your existing condition 8, which I don't think was necessarily picked up on, already has that requirement from 11 p.m. rather than midnight. So when we go back to discuss the existing conditions, it may well be the case that we can't take away what you've already got. So we may have to alter the midnight to 11 p.m. But other than that, are you happy with that condition?
Yes.
Thank you. Number 23, that's a drinking up. So obviously closing's 30 minutes after licensable activities end. You happy with that?
Happy.
Number 24 is the notices. You happy with that?
Yes, we've already purchased them.
25 and 26, no smells, no noise.
Yes.
Number 27, this was touched upon, I think, already by Councillor Rossi. No alcohol or other drink should be taken from the premises in an open container.
Yes.
Number 28 is the dispersal and external management plan, so that will cover things like patrons leaving and patrons smoking outside. Are you happy with that?
Yes, very much so.
Lindsay, are we going to limit the number of smokers outside?
We can do for 30 or 30.
Maximum.
We can do for 30 and 31, but obviously in relation to the variation hours.
I have a question. How many tables do you have?
seats, we have 65.
Tables, not
Tables
covers.
divide that by, I would say, about 30.
Okay. Just as a pointer, I don't know how you want to handle that. For your dispersal policy, can we make sure that not everyone is let out at the same time, that it can be done table by table or 2 tables at a time if there are tables of 2 or whatever? I think it would ease the load on the community.
I welcome that idea very much so, yes, that's a very good idea.
That will need to go into the dispersal and external management plan.
You'll put that in the dispersal plan.
Of course, but in the event of any emergencies or in terms of fire or any sort of
Yes,
danger,
that would be an exception.
It will be
Thank you.
Number 29, so these are I've just separated them out, and these are the council's standard conditions. I know you said that you have a lesser hour of delivery slot, but obviously these are the standard conditions. Are you happy with rubbish, refuse and delivery conditions?
Yes, and in terms of deliveries, I was kindly referring to our supplies deliveries when I
Bringing
said from...
to the premises,
yes.
Yeah. Miss Allen?
8 o'clock? Can you change that to 8 o'clock?
In relation to what? Rubbish, refuse
For
or deliveries? So, did you say, what was the earliest delivery time you have?
The earliest we've ever had was 11 a.m. Happy to bring it...
So you're happy to change it to 8
course.
for that one?
We always insist to our suppliers that please do not deliver anything because there's not going to be anyone on site. So yes, of course.
But there's been so many problems with our coop that 8 a.m.
Can I just also check, you don't have tables and chairs outside the premises, do you?
No.
Thank you. Right, so going on to additional conditions, and obviously you've already got a licence till midnight, so they have what they hold. We can't start imposing conditions for the new stuff. So for number 30, from midnight, a maximum, and I've put in brackets 5 smokers shall be permitted to smoke outside the premises at any one time. Does anybody have any comments on that?
I think we had suggested 4.
Any comments on 4 or 5?
5 would be appreciated, although I don't care really. If they prefer 4, of course, we can do 4.
Okay, thank you. And number 31, from midnight, there shall be no new entries or re-entries to the premises, save for persons leaving to smoke. So like no new customers coming in for food. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. You're also... what's arisen during the course of this... Sorry.
Apologies. Does that mean that the very last customer that should come to be seated should be no further from 12?
Correct. Is that going to be a problem for you?
Can we extend that to 12:30?
Can I have comments from the objectors?
With them having to leave by 1:30?
I mean, it depends on the hour, of course. I mean, because we would like the latest to be 1 a.m.
Right, so I'm just also clarifying that this would only apply to the Thursday to Saturday as well, these conditions. Sorry, can you repeat that again, Mr. Tetar?
I mean, it depends on the hour. I mean, because we are objecting to anything later than 1 a.m. licensing, so I thought midnight would make sense, as in, you would come in and then spend an hour and a half.
Can I ask you as objectors, I mean, obviously this is a without prejudice kind of discussion. If the council were minded to grant, and obviously there's no off-sales involved, and obviously the applicant's asking for 1:30 for end of licensable activities, 2 o'clock finish, what would your preference be? I mean, obviously you're saying refuse outright, but what would your alternative preference be? Just so I can gauge where you're coming from.
No, I didn't say refuse outright. I said no to Thursdays, as in that would be the only venue there that is open on Thursday. 2, we are happy to extend, but Archer Street's hours should be the limit. That's our request. We're not just saying outright no.
So so for clarity, that's a 1 o'clock end to on sales with a closing at 1:30. So, yes, so that's trying to say that everybody comes onto the pavement around about the same time and you just get the noise over and done with, as opposed to a 2 o'clock closing, which moves.
So you're
the
asking
noise.
for half an hour less than what the applicant's asking for. So obviously this is obviously for
And-
the committee to make a
And only 2
decision.
nights a week.
And you're just saying Fridays and Saturdays, but not Thursdays. Right, sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen should consider the unfairness of comparison. You're comparing us to a completely different establishment who promotes alcohol, promotes loud music, promotes lively entertainment. We do not. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, for just eating food should really be a fair extension to something completely different. But I understand where you're coming from, but I'm just begging you to consider that it's just a very unfair comparison.
So you would be closing at 12:30 on Thursday. So that's still a mid-week day, like, and 60, 70 people. I mean,
I assure you there will never be 65 people. We hope there will be, but it's just a big assumption. And also Thursday, Friday, Saturday, serving until 1:30 p.m., closing by 2 a.m. is what we request.
no, in connection with your comment on Thursday, as in, considering it's the day of the week, midweek, like, why is 12:30 not enough? Like, I personally don't quite follow that.
It is what the customers demand. We have had that discussion.
Thank you. We have your point. Thank you.
I just wanted to open up the discussion so we fully knew where you were all coming from, and
Yes.
obviously it's for the councillors to ultimately make the decision. So, in terms of what has also cropped up during this session, so you're agreeable, we've got a condition whereby residents' meetings are hosted by the premises licence holder twice a year, and you invite ward councillors and local residents associations. Are you agreeable to that condition?
That's a very swell idea. We would love to have them.
Thank you. We've already discussed delivery times. We've already discussed no drinks outside. You're agreeable to cleaning the pavement?
Sure. This was actually discussed towards the end of December. We were quite busy and some days were missed. I think that's what the Honourable Lady was mentioning that. But it's now being done on a daily basis.
May I suggest that you add that at your staff meetings, that it's a requirement that they have to sweep the pavement when you're closing? Or
For your
after you
information, it has
close?
actually been done, yes. It's part of our cleaning procedure. And by the way, we are 5-star out of 5 scoring for hygiene and cleaning and safety.
Okay.
Sorry,
So
Madam Chairman, if they are going to close at 2 a.m., I don't think we do want them cleaning it that night. Could they clean the next morning, please?
No, next
Yeah.
morning, of course.
And is it just sweeping you want, or pavement washing?
I think there's a particular spot near the rubbish, which gets really oily and slippery. So I think you said no jet washing, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I think it's some sort of scrubbing down.
Without jet washing, but in the morning. Are you okay with that?
Absolutely, no, that's what's been, I know what the lady's referring to, and yes, we will have that incorporated.
But then we don't want to hear complaints that there's cigarette stubs outside before the time they clean. We have to be reasonable on this.
Thank you. And just one other thing, just a belts and braces type approach. So we've already established that any deliveries, like Deliveroo type deliveries, have to finish by 11 because you haven't got late night refreshment outdoors. But I just wanted to put on a belts and braces type condition, basically saying no deliveries out with the deregulated hours, just to make it very clear. And obviously, if you did want to change that, you'd have to apply for that, obviously for late night refreshment outdoors. Are you okay with that?
We are okay with that, yes.
Thank you. Right.
Sorry, Madam Chairman, just going back to your cigarette butts issue, maybe some smoking bins might help minimise any rubbish on the pavement if they're smoking outside?
They're already installed on 2 walls on Camden Hill and Notting Hill side, yes.
I think there's a problem if they're on the pavement because a blind person wouldn't see them. So it's better that they're hung. That's a good idea.
Right. Going back, so I think we've covered all the extra bits that have cropped up during the hearing, unless the councillors have got any other conditions which they want to add. Do you want to have 5-10 minutes to look at existing conditions 7 to 10, and with a view to deleting them, except for condition 7F?
Perhaps it would save time of the committee and everyone involved if I just mentioned one thing, that we'd like to be open 365 days a year.
Yeah.
Christmas is a particularly busy day for us, actually. If those inclusions have anything mentioned in them because of the previous ownership about 7 years ago that were closed down by Christmas or New Year's, we'd like to omit that because we'd like to be open. But Thursday, Friday, Saturday should be included in the existing license.
So by removing, say for example, if the committee were minded to grant what you asked for today, you'd have the existing hours plus the extended hours, and then the only extra would be, because you've already got it, would be on New Year's Eve. You'd be able to trade from the end of hours all the way through to the start of hours the next day, so that would be carried over. Whereas I think all the other ones are kind of redundant, so to speak.
Sure, the starting hours on the day, I'm happy for that to be brought forward to midday, lunchtime.
Yeah.
And the late nights should remain until midnight, only Thursday, Friday, Saturday to be extended.
Yeah, so for example, like 7D, it's saying on Good Friday on sales of 12 till 10:30 p.m. But that, by removing all of that, it will be as per your current license.
Yes,
because these are old style conditions which no longer bite. Okay.
That's fine with us, yes.
And just one thing for clarity, the only other thing which I don't think is relevant to you, so condition 9 is about drinking up, and it also confers a right to sell alcohol without restriction to persons staying there, like a hotel, and they're bona fide guests. Beg your pardon? And persons employed on the premises, and sales to other clubs and businesses. I don't think that's what you do, so I don't think that's relevant either, but I just wanted to clarify with that with you. And 10 is overridden by new legislation and has nil effect, which it says anyway on the licence. So as far, are you happy for me to tidy up the licence in that regard?
Yes, of course.
So it won't be to your detriment, is what I'm trying to say.
It's good that we clear it up right now rather than going back and forth in emails.
Yes, it just makes it easier to read the licence as well, to be perfectly honest with you. So you'll be looking at the hours you've granted and then these new conditions.
Sure.
Are there any other conditions that anybody else wants to discuss which we haven't touched on at all?
I would ask the objectors, would you be happy if we say, and I'm asking you, that they can sweep when he closes? That avoids any problems, and sweeping doesn't make noise.
What about the washing?
We can separate it from the washing. The washing might make some noise, but sweeping takes 5 minutes, everything's gone, there's no buts, and I think it will be more clear to everyone where they stand. Are you happy with that?
Can I just make one point? I think it was one of the authority officers who had this discussion with us, and it's written somewhere in the emails that we're not allowed to put rubbish outside if we were to extend after 11 p.m. And we should retain those rubbish bags on the premises and put them back on the night after. So sweeping, that would be absolutely fine. We welcome that idea. We will clean it up with no noise, but we will make sure we keep the bags and then dispose of them the following night.
I think they're separate, yeah. So
yes,
yeah.
It's a separate thing. Did the licensing officer have anything to add?
Nothing further, Chair.
Thank you. Are you done? And do our governance officers have anything to add?
Nothing from us, Chair. Thank you.
we've reached the end of the meeting. I thank everyone for their excellent contributions. The committee now has all the information needed, and we will retire to make our decision. We will not announce the decision today. Instead, the hearing will be closed. A summary determination will be sent to the parties within 5 working days of today's hearing, and a full decision will follow as soon as possible thereafter. The time limit for appealing the decision will not commence until the full decision has been sent to the parties. Thank you for attending. The hearing is now closed.